Have you ever sat in your favorite chair, looked around your home and wondered, how did I end up doing all this on my own? If you have, you're not alone. More and more women over 60 are living independently, whether by choice or by life's design. And while independence is something to be proud of, it can also come with challenges no one really prepares us for. Sometimes, it's not the big things that trip us up. It's the small habits, the daily routines, or the quiet silence that sneaks in when we least expect it. Maybe you've caught yourself skipping meals, forgetting appointments, or spending a little too much time alone. That's okay. There's no shame in it. But there are ways to gently steer yourself back toward a life that feels vibrant, safe, and full of meaning. In this video, we're going to talk about 9 important things to avoid when you're living alone in your golden years. Think of this as a gentle heart-to-heart between friends. No judgment, just real talk about how to protect your health, your home, and your happiness. You've worked hard to reach this chapter of life, and you deserve to enjoy it with peace of mind and joy in your heart. So let's start with something many women don't even realize is creeping up on them until it's already taken hold. Isolation. It starts quietly. Maybe you go a few days without talking to anyone, aside from a quick hello to the mail carrier or the clerk at the grocery store. At first, the quiet might even feel comforting. No one to answer to, no one to clean up after. But then the days start to blend. The phone rings less often. The energy to reach out just isn't there. And before you know it, loneliness has settled in like an unwanted guest. The danger with isolation isn't just emotional. It can impact your physical health too. Studies show that chronic loneliness in older adults increases the risk of heart disease, depression, and even dementia. But here's the good news. Connection doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need a packed social calendar or a dozen close friends. Sometimes it's the small moments that matter most. A weekly phone call with your granddaughter, a coffee date with a neighbor, joining a knitting group at the local library. Even a virtual book club can do wonders. One woman I met through a community group shared how she started volunteering just 1 day a week at a local animal shelter. At first, it was just something to get her out of the house. But now, it's the highlight of her week. She laughs, she connects, and most importantly, she feels seen. You don't have to do it all at once. Start with one small connection, one moment of reaching out. You'll be surprised how quickly it turns into something more. And remember, connection isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Now let's talk about something just as vital, your health. Living alone can make it all too easy to let things slip. There's no one there to remind you to take your medication, schedule that appointment, or drink more water. And let's be honest, when it's just you, it's tempting to put things off. I'll go next week, turns into next month. Before you know it, you're feeling more tired, more achy, more out of sorts, but you don't quite know why. Your health is the foundation for everything else in your life. Without it, everything becomes harder. That's why it's so important to stay on top of it, not just when something feels wrong, but as a routine part of your life. Keep a small calendar on the fridge. Set reminders on your phone. Line up your medications for the week in a simple pill organizer. And don't forget about movement. You don't need a gym membership or a strict routine. Just take a walk around the block. Do some gentle stretching in the morning. Let the sun hit your face. Breathe in the fresh air. It's not just good for your body, it clears the mind and lifts the spirit. And please don't ignore your emotional well-being. There's this quiet pressure sometimes to just get over it, especially for women who have spent decades taking care of everyone else. But sadness, anxiety, even grief, They don't just vanish with age. You are allowed to feel, and you are allowed to ask for help. Whether it's calling a friend, speaking to a therapist, or just saying out loud, "I'm not okay today," that matters. Because bottling it up doesn't make it go away. It just makes you feel more alone. Taking care of your health, physical and emotional, is not selfish. It's not a luxury. It's an act of love, not just for yourself, but for everyone who cares about you. And now, let's talk about safety. Because if there's one thing that can rob you of peace of mind, it's not feeling safe in your own home. Maybe you've thought to yourself, "I've been fine this long, I know what I'm doing." And maybe that's true. But the truth is, as we get older, our needs change, and our homes should change with us. It could be something as simple as a rug that slips, or a stair that's just a little too steep, a light bulb that's been out for weeks, a door that's tricky to lock. These little things, they matter. They're the very things that can lead to a fall, an injury, or worse. I once heard from a woman, her name was Carol, who had a small fall in her kitchen. Nothing dramatic, but just enough to twist her ankle. The problem? Her phone was in the other room. She lay there for hours in pain, waiting. After that, she got one of those personal emergency buttons. You know, the ones you wear around your neck or on your wrist? She told me it gave her peace of mind she didn't even realize she needed. You don't have to go overboard. Start with better lighting, especially in hallways and bathrooms. Consider grab bars near the tub or shower. Check that your smoke detectors are working. And if you're not sure where to start, ask a family member to help walk through your home with you, looking for anything that could be a hazard. Your home should be your sanctuary, a place of peace, not worry. And taking small steps to make it safer, that's a beautiful way to show yourself some love. We've talked about isolation, health, and safety, 3 things that so often get pushed aside when we're living alone. But once you start paying attention, once you take small actions, the weight starts to lift. You begin to feel stronger, more confident, more in control. And now that we've begun building that foundation, let's keep going. There's something no one really tells you about living alone. When you have the freedom to do whatever you want, it's surprisingly easy to fall into habits that don't serve you. You stay up too late, skip meals, maybe spend a few too many hours in front of the TV. It's not because you don't care. It's because no one's watching. And without that gentle accountability we used to get from family, a partner, or even just the rhythm of a shared routine, things begin to slip. You might think, well, I've earned the right to relax. And that's absolutely true. But there's a difference between resting and drifting. Forming unhealthy habits like eating mostly processed food, not moving enough, or losing track of hygiene routines can quietly chip away at your well-being before you realize it. A friend of mine, Linda, told me after her husband passed, her eating habits changed dramatically. Cooking for one just didn't seem worth it, so she started snacking throughout the day instead of preparing proper meals. At first, it felt like a small thing, but over time, she felt tired all the time and started gaining weight she couldn't explain. Once she made the decision to cook real meals again, even just a few days a week, she felt more like herself. That's the key. It's not about perfection. It's about care. Choosing to eat nourishing meals. Moving your body, even just a little. Getting outside for 10 minutes of fresh air and sunshine. These aren't chores. They're small gifts to yourself. And they help you stay grounded. Sometimes, a new habit can even become something joyful. Maybe you take up gardening or start following along with a gentle yoga video on YouTube. Maybe it's just making a real breakfast instead of grabbing whatever's quick. These little routines matter. They add structure. they build energy. And over time, they restore a sense of purpose. Speaking of structure, let's talk about your home. Now, for many of us, our homes are filled with years of memories. Photos on the walls, the couch where our grandkids used to nap, the kitchen table where holidays were spent laughing over pie. These places hold our lives. But as the years go on, that big, beautiful home can start to feel less like a comfort and more like a burden. The cleaning, the maintenance, the rooms that stay dark and unused. You might feel guilty for even thinking about downsizing, but I want you to know that letting go of a house doesn't mean letting go of the love that lived there. In fact, letting go of the excess can open up space for something even more meaningful. Freedom. Freedom to live without worrying about the gutters or the leaky sink. Freedom to spend less energy on upkeep and more on things that bring you joy. Maybe that means moving to a smaller apartment or senior community. Maybe it just means hiring someone to mow the lawn or clean once a month. Whatever it looks like for you, the most important question is, does your home support the life you want now? Not 5 or 10 years ago, but now. You deserve to live in a space that feels manageable, peaceful, and safe. A place where you can rest, not a place that drains you. And while we're on the subject of doing too much, let's gently unpack the belief that you have to handle everything alone. This one's tough, especially for women who've spent decades holding everything together. You've been the caregiver, the planner, the peacemaker. And somewhere along the way, you might have started believing that asking for help means weakness, that needing someone else somehow takes away from your independence. But hear me when I say this. It doesn't. Accepting help, or even just asking for it, is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of wisdom. It's how communities work. It's how families grow closer. And it's how we stay connected when life feels heavy. Maybe you've hesitated to ask your daughter to drive you to the doctor, even though she'd be happy to. Maybe you've put off calling a handyman because you felt like you should figure it out yourself. But the truth is, asking for support when you need it doesn't make you less independent. It makes you more empowered because you're choosing your well-being over pride. I remember speaking to a woman named Eleanor who told me that after she had a minor fall in her garden, she resisted telling her son. I didn't want him to worry, she said. But when she finally did share it, he showed up the next weekend with a non-slip mat, new garden gloves, and a big hug. She told me that in that moment, she realized she wasn't alone, and she didn't want to be. Let the people who love you show up. Let them in. Whether it's a ride to the store, help with taxes, or just a cup of tea and a conversation, you don't have to carry it all. In fact, you were never meant to. Living alone doesn't mean doing life alone. There's beauty in community, whether that's family, friends, neighbors, or even the kind voice of someone on the other end of the phone. Leaning on others when you need it is a strength, not a weakness. And it gives you the emotional space to focus on what you want to do with your time, not just what needs to get done. And speaking of time, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a day pass by and thought, what did I even do today? Maybe you slept in, had coffee, watched a little TV, and before you knew it, it was dinner time. Then another day, just like that. No plan, no rhythm. Just time drifting by like clouds in the sky. It happens to so many of us, especially after retirement. The structure that used to be there, commuting, caring for family, managing a busy schedule, suddenly disappears. And what's left can feel like an open sea with no direction. That's why creating a daily rhythm is so important. You don't have to be rigid about it, but giving your days a sense of shape helps bring back that feeling of purpose. Maybe it's a morning walk at 9 a.m. Maybe Tuesday is grocery day and Thursday is library day. It can be as simple as having lunch at the same time every day or writing in a journal before bed. One man told me that after his wife passed, he felt completely untethered. But he started doing crossword puzzles every morning while sipping his coffee. That one simple act gave his day a beginning. Then he added an afternoon walk. Then he started calling his sister every Friday. Slowly, he built a life with rhythm again. That rhythm helps you feel grounded. It helps you sleep better, eat better, and enjoy your days more. It gives you something to look forward to, big or small. And in that structure, you'll find comfort, calm, and even joy. You've made it through so much in life, and here you are, with the freedom to shape your days in a way that feels good to you. So let your time be yours, not something that just slips away, but something you shape intentionally, like a beautiful garden you're tending day by day. We've talked about how important it is to build rhythm into your days, to create habits that lift you up, and to remember you don't have to do everything on your own. Now let's take a moment to talk about something we often overlook until it's too late: being prepared for the unexpected. Emergencies don't send us invitations. They don't wait until we're ready. Whether it's a sudden power outage, a fall, a medical issue, or even something as simple as locking yourself out of the house, these things happen. And when you're living alone, being prepared can mean the difference between a minor inconvenience and a major crisis. It doesn't have to be complicated. Start with the basics. Do you have a flashlight with working batteries in an easy-to-reach place? Is there a list of emergency contacts clearly visible on your fridge or by the phone? Do you have a small stash of bottled water, non-perishable snacks, and any important medications in one designated spot? A woman I spoke to named Joyce told me how she got caught in a winter storm a few years back. The power went out, the roads were icy, and her phone battery died. She said those few days alone in the dark were some of the scariest moments of her life. After that, she got herself a solar-powered lantern, a backup battery for her phone, and a shelf in the pantry just for emergency supplies. She hasn't needed them since, but she sleeps better knowing they're there. That's what preparation does. It gives you peace of mind. It's not about living in fear. It's about knowing you've taken care of yourself just like you've done for so many others in your life. And there's power in that. Now let's talk about another kind of preparation, the kind that involves your finances. Money is a sensitive topic for a lot of us, especially later in life. Maybe your income has changed since retirement. Maybe bills feel overwhelming or confusing. Maybe you found yourself ignoring things like account statements or overdue notices simply because you don't know where to begin. You're not alone, and there's no shame in it. Financial disorganization can creep in without warning. A missed bill here, a forgotten subscription there. But over time, it can lead to stress, late fees, or even bigger problems. The good news? It's never too late to take control. Start small. Choose one day a week to sit down with your finances. Make a cup of tea, put on some soft music, and gently walk through one task at a time. Maybe that means reviewing your bank statements. Maybe it's organizing your bills into a folder or setting up automatic payments for your utilities. If it feels overwhelming, ask for help. That could be a trusted family member, a financial advisor, or even a senior resource center in your community. You don't have to navigate it all alone. And remember, you are not a burden for asking. You are being responsible, proactive, and wise. A woman I admire shared how she used to feel embarrassed when her daughter offered to help with her finances. But one day, she accepted the help. Together, they created a system that worked: color-coded folders, online bill reminders, a shared calendar. That one act of letting someone in lifted a weight she didn't even realize she was carrying. Taking charge of your finances is an act of self-respect. It tells the world and yourself that your life, your peace, your dignity still matter. Now, let's take a breath together, because we've covered a lot. We've talked about the risks of isolation, the importance of keeping up with your health, the little things you can do to make your home a safer place. We've explored how easy it is to fall into unhealthy habits when no one's watching, and how small changes can make a big difference. We've talked about not letting your home become a burden, about how asking for help is strength, not weakness, about creating structure in your days so time doesn't slip through your fingers, about being ready for life's just-in-case moments, and finally, about facing your finances with confidence and care. Now I want to leave you with something important. This chapter of your life, it isn't the ending. It's not the epilogue. It's a rich, powerful, beautiful part of your story that still has so much to offer. You may be living alone, but you are not without purpose. You are not invisible. You are not done. You are still the woman who raised a family, who built a career, who held others up in times of crisis. And now it's your time. Your time to live with joy, with freedom, with grace. To embrace the beauty of quiet mornings, the strength of your own wisdom, and the warmth of small connections that still light up your heart. Every small step you take, from making that doctor's appointment, to reaching out to a friend, to tidying one room of your house, is a step toward living your best life. Not just surviving, but thriving. You deserve that. You always have. If something in this video spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Whether it's a story you want to share, a tip that helped you, or simply a little hello, this is a space where you're always welcome. And if you found this helpful, please give it a like, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Faith Journey. This channel is here to support you, body, mind, and soul, as you walk through this next season of life with strength, dignity, and joy. Here's to more good days, more gentle mornings, more laughter, and more peace. Here's to living your best life at any age.